Hello dear students, welcome to the class on corticosteroid part 7, that is classification and important uses of corticosteroids. So first let us see the classification of corticosteroids. So it is classified into glucocorticoids and mineralocorticoids. In the glucocorticoids again they have divided into short acting, example hydrocortisone or cortisone, intermediate acting, example prednisolone, methylprednisolone, triamcinolone and deflazacort. And in the long acting we have dexamethasone and betamethasone. So coming to the mineralocorticoids, under mineralocorticoids we have desoxycorticosterone acetate or DOCA, fludrocortisone and aldosterone. So this is regarding the glucocorticoids, how they are classified based on their off-life. So short-acting drugs have biological T-off of less than 12 hours and intermediate acting glucocorticoids have T-off of around 12 to 36 hours and long-acting glucocorticoids have T-off of 36 to 72 hours. And here you can see the relative activity. So hydrocortisone has got both predominant glucocorticoid as well as mineralocorticoid activity. Here you can see in the intermediate acting prednisolone and methylprednisolone has some amount of mineralocorticoid activity along with glucocorticoid activity, but whereas triamcinolone and deflazacort doesn't have any mineralocorticoid activity. And in the longer acting glucocorticoids you can see it is very predominantly acting on the glucocorticoids receptors and they are devoid of mineralocorticoid activity. So coming to the mineralocorticoids, here in the mineralocorticoids you can make out that so these three drugs, desoxycorticosterone acetate, fludrocortisone and aldosterone has got maximum mineralocorticoid activity. Among that, the maximum mineralocorticoid activity is shown by aldosterone. So next, moving on to the individual drug and their important features and where they are used. Hydrocortisone, or it is also called as cortisol, it is the short acting glucocorticoids. So it has got primary glucocorticoid as well as significant mineralocorticoid activity. It is mainly used for replacement therapy. So it is used as a 20 milligram in the morning and 10 milligram afternoon orally. And also it is used in the treatment of shock, status substathematicus and acute adrenal insufficiency. The dose is 100 milligram. It is given intravenous bolus followed by 100 milligram 8th hourly IV infusion. And it can be used in the ulcerative colitis in the form of enema as well as topically. Next, coming to the prednisolone, which is a intermediate acting glucocorticoids, which is 4 times more potent than the hydrocortisone. This you have to remember. And it has got more selectivity towards the glucocorticoid receptors. And remember that higher doses of prednisolone can lead to fluid retention. And the dose is 50 to 60 milligram per day orally and 10 to 40 milligram intramuscularly as well as intraarticularly, and it can also be given through topical route. And uses of prednisolone is they are used in allergic conditions, in inflammatory disorders because it has got anti-inflammatory activity, and autoimmune diseases as well as in case of malignancy due to their immunosuppressant action. So one of the advantages of prednisolone is it causes less pituitary-adrenal suppression, and also it is used as a single morning dose or alternate day treatment. Next, coming to the methylprednisolone, which is also an intermediate acting glucocorticoids, and when compared with the prednisolone, it is slightly more potent as well as more selective than the prednisolone. It is given orally and also it can be used in the treatment of ulcerative colitis in the form of retention enema, And other indications where methylprednisolone can be used are in case of non-responsive active rheumatoid arthritis, renal transplant patient, pemphigus, it can be used. Remember that in these three conditions, the methylprednisolone is used in the form of high dose and it is given at 1 gram. It should be infused through intravenous route. An important thing is it is used as a pulse therapy. Pulse therapy means it is given every 6 to 8 weeks alternatively. And one should remember that the methylprednisolone causes minimal suppression of the pituitary-adrenal axis. Next, coming to the triamcinolone, which is also an intermediate acting glucocorticoid. So when compared with the prednisolone, it is slightly more potent and it has got high selectivity towards the glucocorticoids, and it can be used orally as well as intramuscularly in the form of intra-articular injection as well as topically. Next, coming to the dexamethasone, which is a long-acting glucocorticoids. One should remember that it is the very potent and highly selective glucocorticoid. It's mainly used in the treatment of inflammatory conditions as well as allergic conditions through oral route, and also it is used parenterally in the treatment of shock and cerebral edema through intravenous infusion or intramuscular injection. And it can also be used topically. And one should remember that this dexamethasone do not lead to any fluid retention and there will be no problem of hypertension. So one should remember that it is the dexamethasone which can cause marked pituitary adrenal axis suppression. Next, coming to the betamethasone, which is also a longer acting glucocorticoids, which is similar to that of the dexamethasone, which can be given orally as well as parenterally through IM and intravenous route as well as through topical application. Next, coming to the deflazacort, which is an intermediate acting glucocorticoids. So one should remember that it is a newer steroid which has got less glucocorticoid activity. So you can say when we compare the potency with respect to the prednisolone, the glucocorticoid potency is less than the prednisolone, and it also lacks the mineralocorticoid activity. So it is the reason since it has got lower potency, it has got fewer adverse effects, and it is mainly used in the treatment of inflammatory as well as immunological disorders. And the important thing about deflazacort is it causes lesser growth retardation in case of children. That's why they are particularly recommended or preferred for pediatric patients. Coming to the desoxycorticosterone acetate or DOCA, this is having only mineralocorticoid activity, and it is mainly used for replacement therapy in the treatment of Addison's disease sublingually as well as intramuscularly. Coming to the fludrocortisone, which is also one more potent mineralocorticoid, but it has got some glucocorticoid activity and it is orally very active, and it's also used for replacement therapy in case of Addison's disease, in case of congenital adrenal hyperplasia, and in case of idiopathic postural hypotension. So the extra edge point one should remember is methylprednisolone can be used as a pulse therapy. Here there is a two role played by pulse therapy. One is the initial effect, you are going to see the anti-inflammatory action, whereas the long-term benefit will be it temporarily switches off the immunodamaging process. So there will be temporary switching off of the immunodamaging process as a consequence of decrease in the lymphocytes as well as as a consequence of decrease in the immunoglobulin synthesis. So one more extra edge point which you should remember is both the longer acting glucocorticoids like dexamethasone and betamethasone are preferred in the treatment of cerebral edema as well as in other conditions in which fluid retention must be avoided. And one more very important thing we should remember about aldosterone is, though the aldosterone is the most potent mineralocorticoid, it is not used clinically. The reason being it has got low oral bioavailability as well as it has got difficulty in regulating the doses. And with respect to inhalational corticosteroids, one should remember that So the examples for inhalation corticosteroids are beclomethasone, dipropionate, budesonide, fluticasone, which are mainly used in the form of inhalers in the treatment of bronchial asthma, as well as it can be used in the form of spray in case of nasal allergy, and also it can be used for skin and mucosal membrane lesions. Next, coming to the applied aspect as well as the summary of today's session. So we have learned about the corticosteroids can be classified into glucocorticoids and mineralocorticoids. And again, glucocorticoids are classified into short-acting, intermediate-acting, long-acting. So short-acting example is hydrocortisone, and intermediate-acting we have prednisolone, methylprednisolone, triamcinolone, and deflazacort. And longer-acting we have dexamethasone and betamethasone. In the mineralocorticoids, the example is doca, fludrocortisone, and aldosterone. So coming to the uses of hydrocortisone is mainly used in the case of replacement therapy, the treatment of shock, status asthmaticus, acute adrenal insufficiency, as well as ulcerative colitis. Whereas the prednisolone is used in case of allergic as well as inflammatory condition, and also in case of autoimmune and malignancies. With respect to methylprednisolone, it is mainly used in ulcerative colitis, and as a methylprednisolone pulse therapy, they are used in the treatment of non-responsive active rheumatoid arthritis, renal transplant patient, and pemphigus. And one should remember that it has got minimal suppression of pituitary-adrenal axis. So when we come to the dexamethasone, which is a longer-acting glucocorticoid, which is mainly used in the treatment of inflammatory as well as allergic condition, and also in case of shock and cerebral edema. So remember that dexamethasone causes marked pituitary adrenal suppression. So DOCA is the mineralocorticoid which is given sublingually in the treatment of Addison's disease. So one should remember this, the root of DOCA. And deflazacort, one should remember the important thing about deflazacort is it has got lesser side effects in children and it causes lesser growth retardation in children, so that's why they are particularly preferred in case of pediatric patient. What are the uses of fludrocortisone, which is a mineralocorticoid? So it is used in replacement therapy of Addison's disease, congenital adrenal hyperplasia, and idiopathic postural hypotension. And finally, we'll see about the what are the inhalation corticosteroids which are used in bronchial asthma. One is beclomethasone dipropionate, budesonide, and fluticasone. So in the next class, we shall learn about corticosteroid part 8, that is in detailed explanation of corticosteroid therapeutic uses. So if you like this video, please do like and subscribe to my channel High Low Pharmacology, and please share this video, and thank you.